Welcome to the Victory Show.
What's up, Victors? Welcome to this week's Victory Show. If this is the first time you're joining us, I'm Travis Cody, best-selling author of 16 books, and I've helped over 200 business consultants, founders, and entrepreneurs write and publish their own best-selling book as well. And in that journey, I discovered a really fascinating pattern. A lot of businesses hit a revenue plateau, usually around seven figures, and they struggle to break through it. So on this show, I sit down with some of the world's most successful CEOs, leaders, and business owners to uncover the strategies they use to overcome those plateaus and scale their businesses to new heights, and more importantly, how you can do the same. So get ready for some deep insights and actionable takeaways that you can implement in your life and business starting today. Now, today, we have a powerhouse guest who knows exactly how to build, scale, and market powerhouse brands in the health, wellness, and beauty industries. Leigh Feldman is CEO of Beem Light Sauna, a cutting-edge wellness franchise that rapidly expands into 30 states. But his expertise goes far beyond just one brand. He's been the driving force in the franchising world for over 15 years. He's helped businesses grow, evolve, and dominate their industries. Before leading Beem, Leigh was the CEO and brand president of Bishop's Cuts and Colors, a unisex hair shop franchise that grew to 200 plus locations across North America. Now, he originally joined as the CMO, leading bold, innovative strategies before taking the helm as CEO, but his expertise isn't just in franchising. He also spent 20 years in marketing, PR, advertising, worked with global giants like Nike, Mazda, Warner Brothers, Lego, Google, where he focused on brand partnerships, activations, and paid media strategies. So Leigh's ability to blend creativity, business strategy, and brand building has made him a go-to leader in the franchise and wellness space. Today, we're diving into his insights on how you scale brands, how you create magnetic marketing, and what it really takes to grow a business in today's competitive landscape. So, Leigh, thank you so much for being here. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm going to tell you, I know you do publishing and interview folks, but I think you have a career in writing bios for dating ads because I've never felt so good about myself. Thank you so much for that introduction.
All right, there you go. Uh, that's funny. That'll be my new service. What do? I do books and dating profiles.
Yeah. I mean, way to hype people up. I appreciate it.
So we were talking a little bit earlier, and as a business owner myself, there's always this. Like, I'm trying to see what's a politically correct way to say this. There isn't any. Entrepreneurship for some people is a sickness. It just infects you at a young age, and you never get rid of it. For me personally, I had a grandfather who was an entrepreneur. I was doing a lot of stuff when I was younger, and we were having that conversation. I asked you specifically, did entrepreneurship choose you, or did you choose it? And it sounds like it chose you. So let's share some of the stories you shared with me about what it was like when you were younger.
Yeah, I think it was genetic. My father is the associate dean of a business school, so it definitely was
Oh,
something
it's
that
in
was
the genes
discussed in
then.
health. Yeah, I'd ask for allowance and he'd say, build me a compounded annual growth rate as to what you're going to do with this investment that you make related to the dollar you want for this week for cleaning the toilets for your chores. But yeah, I was certainly one of those young entrepreneur hustlers. I was selling candy. As I told you, I was making yakisoba noodles at home using all of my parents' pasta noodles, taking that in a Tupperware container, selling them at school. In high school, I got a group of 35 people to all chip in $75, and I rented an apartment in high school that we all could go to and party at any time. So any way that I could find a way to, as a
Wow.
group, make money, I
Who rented an
certainly was
apartment to a
interested.
high school kid? They didn't care as long as you had the money.
Uh, it was definitely one of those apartments. They did not care, and we had the money. That is for sure.
That's hilarious. So when you got out of high school, like, did that dictate what you then decided to do? Like, did you decide to pursue business, or were you like, I'm gonna go do the traditional route, and it still just kept kind of pulling you along?
No, that's a great question. I was definitely still following my father. I was interested in education. Um, I was thinking about becoming a teacher. I'm sad to say to all former teachers out there, was once a teacher, and then the business part kicked in where I said, while you can do well while doing good as a teacher, I'm not going to do as much as I want to get to where I want to be. And so I left to enter into the business and agency world for marketing and PR.
Mm. So
But teachers, keep teaching.
was there anything specifically with marketing and PR that appealed to you? Because I know most of your background over the last 20 years, you've spent quite a bit of time in marketing with little, like, I'm call them hiccups of PR.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's the interest of how to tell a brand story, whether that's through product or personality or a process that brings somebody to you. I mean, it's that joke of it's easier to sell a product to your clients than to sell clients on a product. So I'm fortunate that I've always worked with big brands that were coming to us to say, how can we invest in getting in front of our current consumers or new consumers for whatever this item is? And where I started really was in experiential marketing. So
Mm,
that was the fun part of brands saying, look, this is the budget. What would you do that makes a splash for earned media, earned PR, and gets people to really get their hands on this item so they can touch it, feel it, and experience it? And I had a blast doing that. In some ways, I would go back into that world if I could, working with brands, creative
what
directors
were one or
around the
two like
world.
really cool experiential things you guys put together?
Oh, I mean, probably some of the last minute guerrilla campaigns where a competitive brand was having a shareholder conference and you'd want to do something to disrupt, but really the things that highlighted a market. So I really enjoyed working on Lego campaigns for New York City. We created uh, I'm totally blanking on the word, where you go and you find clues, a treasure hunt across the city where people were rushing to then be able to earn the opportunity to buy a specific limited New York City Lego kit. So we sent them all around finding
That's
facts, answering puzzles, trivia games to meet other Lego representatives. We worked on some stuff for Rockstar Video Games, for Grand Theft Auto. I mean, the amount of campaigns and things I can say I was able to work on that were so much fun, easily in the hundreds. Really an incredible time in my
that's
career.
fun. I was just at a marketing conference a few days ago, and there was a guy telling me a story where his company, I don't remember the specific niche, but he wanted to be at a big convention for something, and the person putting the convention on was like, I'm not going to let you in because he viewed him as a competitor. Now there was like 300 booths at this convention, right? So it's not like, and so most people would have been like, oh, that sucks. So what he did is he knew there was going to be 7,000 people at the convention, and he got like a booth, or he ended up basically rented out a big suite, and he spent all of his money on advertising, going, this is the party for people at the convention. And then people, like 6,000 people, came to his party, and he handed out T-shirts, and the whole front of it was basically his brand, and there was a bull, and the bull was peeing on the brand that was putting the convention on. And then he said, hey, my guys are going to be walking around the convention tomorrow, and when we see people with T-shirts, we're going to be randomly handing out $1,000. And so the next day at the convention, there was 6,000 people wearing the
Wow.
T-shirt. And the guy was like, and he said, the funny thing is if I would have just had a booth and done the
Yep.
thing, he's like, I wouldn't have had it, but that forced him to do something really creative, and ended up doing
Oh, I love
a
that.
kind of
Yeah,
a
we did
funny thing.
something very similar. Skywriters, hiring models to sit at the pool, handing out
Wait,
towels, and
that's a
then
real
had a
thing?
website. Oh yeah. It was
What brand was
uh,
that? I want to know. That's hilarious.
sadly it was a printer company, and I probably shouldn't say more than that.
My brain's like, what does printers and swimming pools have to do with anything? So,
Well, it was where the convention was held. We found out who was attending. We sent
uh,
them information in advance that we'd have car service for them. So we had a brochure for the competitor in the vehicle. We had people strategically arranged for breakfast in the morning with the same brochure to give people information to basically move to the competitor.
that's hilarious. So, what's the going rate for a model at a pool these days?
These days, I don't know.
Back then,
Previously,
100
uh,
bucks.
it was a couple $100. Fortunately, we were able to work with an agency that was able to staff it for us, so we
Sounds
didn't
like a
have to
horrible
call
job. We're gonna pay
anyone.
you $200 to be in a bikini and hang out at the pool.
Yep, and hand these guys that come up to sit next to you, not even necessarily to talk to you, but just to sit near you, because they need a seat, and we had you all taking up every seat at the pool to then hand them a brochure or give them a towel
Oh
that had a
gosh.
website link to talk about the competitor.
Everything is marketing. I love it. Everything.
Absolutely.
So how do you make the leap from experiential experiences into the barbering space, the cut and color space? How did
Yeah,
that
I,
work?
I left the agency to work on the client side, working with Google. And
Mm,
then from Google, I was recruited to be the CMO for Bishop's Cuts Color. And
that
so it
is,
was mostly a
I
need for
think you're the
somebody
first
that
person I've heard
understood.
that's actually was poached from Google for something else.
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited about the opportunity. I was doing a lot of travel at the time. I think I had 2 kids. Now I have 4. And my wife was asking me, do you plan to be a presence in these children's lives? And so I met the CEO of Bishops at the time, who of course said, no, you won't need to travel at all. I signed the agreement. 3 weeks later, I was in San Jose helping opening a location and was on the road quite a bit after that. But it was a great experience. I mean, everything from radio advertising, paid media, social strategy, digital strategy, offer walls, anything to get people in the door to a brick and mortar. And then obviously focusing on the marketing or sales experience once they're inside to get them to be retained and come back.
So what's fascinating about that journey too is you started as a CMO and then eventually you were offered the CEO position. So let's talk a little bit about on a leadership standpoint, like what were the adjustments that you had to make to go from just having a department to running all departments?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of exposure, experience, and then understanding the breadth and depth of certain things. On the marketing side, I had been aware of some of the things for compliance law. That didn't mean that working for a franchise business, I understand franchise disclosure documents, franchise agreements, state filing, registration states, all of these things. So it was a crash course, and I was fortunate that the other people that I worked with, whether internally or outside vendors, were incredibly patient with me in saying, this is what you need to know. This is my suggestion. This is the opportunity. Let's walk through a proposal together.
Mm,
And I feel like I learned a lot rather quickly, and obviously am still learning, even having been exposed to the franchise space for now 17 years. There's still
wow.
stuff I'm learning, but I believe that the being thrown into the deep end was a valuable lesson. I don't know if it's the right way for everyone. I'm sure there were many more mistakes that I don't even realize that I made during that time. But obviously, getting a crash course again on the financials, the legal compliance, the art direction, the advertising, the PR, the technology, all the things that everyone was doing, opposed to just me, our marketing team, and the marketing silo was great. And having come from the agency side, I felt fortunate enough that I had been in a position where I had managed multiple teams that were doing multiple things. I understood, Gantt timelines for key stakeholders and all these things that are necessary when you're talking about the actual day-to-day operational piece of managing a group. How to check in on things with hard touch points and soft touch points. Just even the texts saying, hey, I'm thinking about you, just wanted to check in. Is everything okay? Hey, I heard about this. Those are the things that I think people forget about in leadership. And I still, to this day, forget because you get so bogged down in the hard tasks of, I need to check this off. I need to move this forward. I need to keep the momentum going. And
Mm.
so I don't know if I was as prepared as I would have liked to have been stepping into the CEO role to really manage the people process as much as the actual business process at the time.
So it sounds like the more surprising part for you was the amount of sort of people aspects to running the business, where it's easy to get caught up in the like just the day to day mechanics of the business, but a lot of what's driving the mechanics is people.
Yeah, and especially experts. I mean, they're high caliber individuals that have risen to the top or have been placed in the top or promoted to the top or poached to be in that position at the top for the network. And you're working with them, and you obviously do not want to be the red tape or the hindrance for them to complete what is needed on their side. But
Oh.
you also have to run as a team. I think a lot of the business that I'd seen previously, working just as the CMO, and again, only thinking about my silo, you think of it kind of like a relay race. You're handing the baton to the next person, they're running. You don't really know the direction it's going. You're not as invested, you're not brought in. And you just go, oh, well, I completed it. Our team sent it off. Our job is done. And now I realize it's not a relay race. It's really more of a Tour de France team where you're all cycling together. One person's in the back and drifting, and they move up to the front, but you're still all running or pedaling the race together.
So what were some of the unique challenges then working with? Because obviously you know, you're in the franchise model, so you've got 200 franchisees, so you got your core team of people that's facilitating that, but how did what were the challenges of leadership, because you've got both, right? You're working with the franchise owners and franchisee owners plus your own team. Did that create any challenges?
Yeah, the challenge is scaling and really keeping that culture process at heart. A lot of those
Mm,
folks that brought on, and we joined a platform with over 200 locations in total. But you realize the people that had been there from the beginning, they had that individual touch point. They have your phone number, they have your email, they want to call, they want to text, they want to do those soft things to check in so that you check in with them and give them your time. And obviously, when you're doing that with 200 people, it's a little more challenging. And that's the part I think you have to be really cognizant of as you grow, is making sure that those relationships and your reputation, if you're no longer able to keep those relationships up, stay intact.
So with you had the unique experience with the bishops to be able to scale and eventually exit. So can you talk a little at what point did you know that you wanted to build towards exit? And then once you knew that, what were the things that you had to do to actually get ready for that? Because
Oh, that's such a
I
good
know
question.
I know there's most people listening to the show that have a business dream of I would like to build and then exit, right? But 99% of businesses are never going to do that. So you have a really unique perspective. I'd love to just chat about a little bit.
Yeah, that's such an amazing question. And I still am able to remember the numbers from attending a conference from the private equity group that we sold to after I had been part of Bishop splitting the franchise and corporate arm to sell one to a PE and one to a VC. But when we sold, and I stayed on with the VC on the franchise arm to a PE group, I attended their annual leadership summit. And I still remember from the year before, they looked at 5,329 deals. Their deal team approved 1,617 of those. Of those, 100, and it makes the math easy, 100 made it to the LOI stage. 67 signed the LOI, and 46 of the
Past due
original
diligence.
5,329 deals actually funded. So when you talk about getting to the finish line, you are talking about an incredibly low percentage for just that fund that I talked about. So when you ask the question of what did you need to do to get ready, there is so much related to the ESG part, diligence, data room, financial planning, package, modeling, contracts, everything that they look at, security, deposit. I mean, literally everything. When we closed, a partner said to me, "Congrats, you just completed the easy stuff. You think you know your business now? You're now going to know it better than you ever have." And I said, "What are you talking about? We just went through this sales process that was ridiculous. I know every single thing that you could possibly ask me, but I can tell you the next 6 months, as we talked about pivoting, change of strategy, investment, breadth and depths of services that we offered, I began to know the business even better than he had discussed." And he was right, because it's no longer thinking about what your business is doing, where you know it. It's now thinking about what your business is going to do that you maybe haven't even thought of. And going
Wow.
back to the agency world, and now with the new financial investment partner or growth acceleration capital group, it's the same thing. And I'm reminded of when our agency pitched Red Bull and we said, "Here's our ideas, here's the programming concepts." And they go, "We just put a guy in space. Think bigger." And that's the part that you have to be prepared for on the deal. Yes, you need to know all of the numbers. What's your compound annual growth rate? As I kind of touched on earlier, yeah, you need to know those things. You need to know the forecasting, the modeling, the trends. What are your competitors doing? But you also need to go, hey, dream scenario, if you actually open your checkbook, what are we going to be
You
doing?
know what's interesting? So I helped a client last year with this book. He's the CEO of a company. I think they did $130 million last year. So it's an okay sized business. He had the opportunity to spend 20 minutes with Elon Musk. He was in Austin. Somehow he made arrangements to get a personal tour of
Wow.
the Tesla factory from Elon. So the 20 minutes was Elon's going to walk with you from one end of the factory all the way to the other end, and you get a chat with him. And I said, "Well, what was your biggest takeaway having spent 20 minutes with Elon?" And he said, "My biggest takeaway was I am not thinking big enough in my daily life."
Yeah.
And I was like, "This is a guy that's running a 120 million a year company." And that was his takeaway of like, you spend 20 minutes with Elon and just listen to what Elon is going to, and you're going, "I'm not thinking big enough. I need to think bigger." So
I wonder what the
that's an
question was
interesting
he asked
insight
to
from the
find that.
marketing space.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
curious what the question is he asked to get
Me
that
too. We didn't
response.
get into that.
Yeah.
Next time I see him, I'll ask.
Yeah, because I sometimes am asked sort of that question. Oh, if you could sit with this person, what would you ask them? And my response is always, it's if you had 5 minutes with Warren Buffett or Jay-Z, what would you ask? And my piece for marketing is always on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you think you're doing in marketing? And it doesn't have to be 1 to 10, it could be 1 through 5. The answer isn't the number. You could say 1 through 5 and they say 4, 3, 5. The question is the follow-up, because that's where people open up and you go, what do you think you could be doing to make it a 10? And that's where they start getting into the real meat of the response. And so I've always thought of that related to when people ask me, oh, if you could meet Warren Buffett or Jay-Z, what would you ask them?
That's a good question. Now I'm rethinking all the questions I was going to ask you. All right. So with Bishops, you exited, and can you split into two, right? So that's, and you went with a new company, and then that new company also exited.
Correct.
So you did a double exit in, like, what time frame was that?
It was in 54 weeks. So when
did you have a period where you're like,
arm,
I don't want to ever look at a financial sheet ever again. Leave me alone.
No, never. Like you said, entrepreneurship's a sickness. It's a bug I can't get rid of. No, I stayed on with the VC. I loved his strategic vision. I loved what he was doing. In my diligence and speaking with people that had worked with him before, one thing somebody said about him really stood out, and that was, he will lead you to the promised land. So I felt good staying on as the CEO to work with him. And he said, look, I'm going to sell this thing in 52 weeks in one day. And it ended up being about 54 weeks and then closed on the funding 56th week.
I mean, how cool is it though? Somebody's so good at what he does in terms of this, of buying, buying, building, and selling, that he's got it down to that much of a process. Like, I buy something.
He's got a playbook. He has an investment thesis. It's something that, other funds run as well. He does it because of reputation and relationships and the people that'll come along knowing that they can maybe take less upfront that they might request for the work they're doing, knowing that in a year there's payment on the back end. And he's built a team that will follow him to the ends of earth to work on projects with him because he's so successful at it.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. All right, so where does the pivot from Bishop's cuts and colors, how does that turn into Beam Light Sauna?
Yeah, I mean, I was done with Bishops, my time with private equity and that platform. They said, thanks, we're done July 1. And I was
Did you take some time off just to enjoy your family?
Not as much as I should have or could have, but I think I spent enough time to where my wife was going, stop touching things in the kitchen, get out of here. So come September, when I was given the call to see if I wanted to join Beam, I think she was happy to say, please go.
You were on the phone and your wife grabbed the phone and was like, is it yes? He says
He's
yes.
Available. He's available. Yeah, I was ready to take on a project. I mean, I think I'm fortunate enough to be in a position now that before I join anything, I can ask the question, would the world be a better place if more of these existed? And I feel confident in saying that the world would absolutely be a better place with a Beam being in every city, in every town, in every market.
So let's talk about Beam. So what's the sort of the origin story for them, and what makes the Beam technology better than, everything else that's out there right now?
Yeah, absolutely. The founder began it because her daughter was unfortunately diagnosed with Lyme disease while in college. And she just was unable to really get out of bed. And she saw every doctor, every specialist, and somebody said, you know what, you should try infrared. And she tried it. And it was an immediate change. And she does it daily and says, if I don't do it, I feel the difference. And so the mom, being a parent that cares a lot about their children, which is not me, said, I'm going to start this thing. We'll get one, and then I can turn it into a studio. And so she built a studio. Other people in the community wanted infrared. They wanted red light therapies. They wanted chromotherapy, other light modalities. And then people in the franchising space came to her and said, let's partner and grow this thing. And it took off. And Beam is now in 41 states.
Wow. What a remarkable story. So where are you at in terms of, like, employee size, and you're in 41 states. So what does the next 3 to 5 years look like for you guys?
Yeah, so we actually were just acquired last Friday through another acquisition. So we feel very good about the growth capital partners we've
brought on. Like that's 3 years?
Yes, it is. It is.
You should write a book about just what it's like to go through an acquisition.
At this point, I probably would be able to. But yeah, well versed, not necessarily always by choosing. I think sometimes founders want to sail off into the sunset and want to take some chips off the table and want other people to take things on to bigger and better while also maintaining their equity piece to have a second bite of the apple, as they say.
So did with Beam was it sort of like Bishops? Was it a sought out, like you hit a point where it's like we should look for acquisition, or did somebody come in and say, hey, are you interested?
Yeah, a combination of both. They had been looking at this because the two other partners that came into the founders to create it into a franchise model are well versed in the franchise space. They've had many successful exits. They're the ones that should write the book on the exit. I'll just put my name on the bottom with a forward part by
Were you
me.
working with the same equity team that you worked with a Bishop, or was this a completely
I
different
was
team?
not completely different.
No.
And so, they knew if we got it to a certain place, we would be able to entertain offers. The group that came in is one that traditionally buys baby brands, 5 to 15 locations, is able to bring them under a shared service model for their platform and then really sell and grow it. And so we were almost too big, but they wanted the concept of Beam because of what Beam does and what we've introduced to clients now with green light therapy and blue light therapy to really say, we want this brand and we're willing to very much overpay for it. So the question
Wow.
is not, why did you sell? The question is to them of, why did you buy and why did you pay what you did? And
Mm.
their answer is, we really believe in what Beam is doing.
All right. Now I know this is going to be off topic, but you got me curious now. Red light versus green light versus blue light.
Yeah, there are fantastic things for all of them. Red light is going to help inflammation. It's going to help cardiovascular health. You're going to feel better. It's going to provide mental clarity. You're going to sleep well. It also is going to help with skin healing, especially if you've had large wounds, scar tissue, things of that nature, fire burns. Green light is fat cell reduction. It is
What?
in place of GLP-1s, Ozempic, as people would
What?
know.
Come
And
on.
as the play is, you can lose 6 inches of body circumference in 6 sessions over 6 weeks. And the data is there. It
I'm
shrinks
laughing because my
fat
brain is
cells.
like, how's this even possible?
Yeah. And for people that are not like me, that really don't have fat to lose, it's a great benefit if you experience migraines. And then blue light is bacteria, acne, skin, especially if you're doing full body coverage, back acne.
That this is amazing. Now I have so many questions about that. All right, let's keeping this on scaling. So over this next few years, you've just been acquired, like, and you're in 41 states. What's the plan look like for you guys then to get into all 50 states and territories? I mean, what does it look like for you to go international?
Yeah, and I don't even know if that's necessarily the plan. Our focus is obviously on increasing AUV, so average unit volume for each of our stores. We want each of our stores to be above $1 million.
Mm,
And so the question isn't really how do we be in all 50 states? It's how do we go to the places that make sense for our consumers and work with the operators we already have in our system to allow them to scale as business owners and investors to see the benefits of having 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 locations in their portfolio. Obviously, for us, the scalability, it makes it easier to work with one owner that owns 10 than to work with 200 owners that each own one or
yep,
500 owners that each own
yep.
one. So, we're about finding the right people for the right places, the right markets, timeline in the pipeline, and the interest. And so when we look at Keyword Planner and look at all the things that kind of chart out trends for us, we see the interest in green light growing dramatically. Blue light is certainly coming in for dermatologist recommendations, mostly in places where, as you said, the PC way, it's where people have their shirts off in the summer. And
Yep.
so somebody that has acne or scarring or skin challenges, they're looking at blue light as a solution so they can be out in the summer on a boat, in a park, shirts off, feeling good about themselves. And so again, Beam does infrared sauna, red light therapy, green light, blue light. We have other chromotherapy modalities that we'll introduce, but we are here pretty much to support from a service standpoint any ailment people are experiencing, whether it's autoimmune disorder, weight loss journey, or just simply to sit in a sauna and relax. People ask me all the time, why should I go to a sauna? What's the benefit? Why did you join Beam? And my response to them is always, hey, you're a runner. How fast can you run a mile? A lot of people say, oh, like, 10-minute mile. And I say, great. Could you run a 10-minute mile for 6 miles at an elevated heat index internally, 105, 115, 125, 145 plus. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I go, well, could you just run 6 miles at a 10-minute pace? And most people will say, I don't think so. And the ones that do say, yeah, sure. And I say, great. Well, if you did, how many calories would you burn? And people will have the wildest answers. I don't know, 20,000, a million. People that know will go, oh, like 400, 450, I think, 500. And I go, yeah, close to that, depending upon your internal heat. But you can come to an infrared sauna and you can sit and watch Netflix in a Beam studio for 40 minutes and you can burn up to 600 calories just sitting and watching a TV show. And that's when people say, wow, that sounds amazing. I'd like to learn more. And that's the benefit. I don't want to say it's for people that don't want to do the work, but we are here for anybody that is interested in improving their health and wellness.
I love it. So since you've worked with so many franchisees, let's talk a little bit about what's the difference between franchisees that sort of struggle with one store versus the ones that end up, they start with a store, but then they go to 3 to 5 to 10. Are there traits that the ones that go on to have multiple franchises end up that you notice that kind of stand out that make them be able to do that?
I think it's a process-driven person that understands operations, but also understands either how to not lose that personal touch point where they've created a name in the community and they greet people and they work. And again, reputation and relationship. They either still work on that and do very well, or they've trained people to do that for them. And they've hired rock stars that let them represent the brand themselves. It's no longer, this is the owner that's going to take care of you. We talk about the power of the I statement. Why should I go to Beam? Oh, I'm the owner. I'm going to take care of you. I want to hear what you think of it. To then having a GM or regional manager that can manage that for them. But that personal touch point is always so important. We not joke about the idea of franchisees as chickens, pigeons, or eagles. You give them an operational playbook. You give them the tools that they need, vendors, training, all of these things. Whether they choose to flap their wings and get off the ground is entirely up to them.
Wow, this is fantastic. All right, I know you've got a hard stop, so I like to end every conversation with 3 questions.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Question number 1 is: if you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be and why?
You and your wife should maybe not have children.
Okay. What belief or mindset shift has had the biggest impact on your success and your happiness?
Is it important because it's measured or measured because it's important?
All right, explain that.
It's the idea of what are you placing value on? And is it simply a data point or number that you think you need but don't, and it distracts you from whatever is what your focus should be on?
Yeah, in online marketing, I see that as when people have hired me to come in and help them with sales, copy, and marketing, where you look at them and they're really busy, but they're busy on like not doing anything that's moving the needle.
Yep, they're doing the work to show that they're working.
Yeah. What's the best investment you've ever made in yourself?
Oh, sadly, having my wife and I probably have children.
No, that's funny. I like it. That's a chiasmus. We got this front and the start. So if people, somebody's listening to this conversation, they're interested in what we've been saying, like how can they find more about Beam Light Sauna? How can they get involved in that or check it out or learn more about that?
Yeah, they can absolutely reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's Leigh, Leigh, Feldman, Feldman. Everyone says, oh, just like Corey. And I say, yes, just like Corey, but Leigh, Leigh. Or they can find Beem Light Sauna, BEEM, lightsauna.com.
Love it. Leigh, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thanks so much for taking time out of your day.
Oh, Travis, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for having me.
Cheers.